Hi, I'm your host Daria, and welcome to Farberware Cooking Classics. I'm so excited to be cooking with you today. We're making a fabulous spinach pesto pizza. You'll love it. Your guests will love it. They'll think you worked hard all day long, and it's really simple. We're going to be using 1 package of dry yeast with a little bit of sugar. We're going to add that to some warm water, a little bit of salt, some olive oil, and of course you'll need some all-purpose flour. So first what you need to do is add your sugar and your dry yeast into your warm water. Give it a little stir, get that mixed up a tiny bit, and just set that aside and let that do its thing. I have some here that we let sit for a while. You see how nice and bubbly the yeast has become? That's how I know my yeast is active and it's ready to go. Otherwise your dough won't rise and you'll have a really tough pizza. And we definitely don't want that. So we want to add that. We already have 3 cups of flour. I always like to use unbleached flour because I feel like I can taste a difference in the flour. I just like it being a little more pure. We're also going to add a little bit of salt to that, and some olive oil. And we'll save just a little bit of the olive oil for later. I'll show you what we're going to do with that. I have all of my ingredients in my Farberware food processor, which has so many great features, 2 of which we're using today. I have a dough blade inside my bowl. We also have a dough setting. So first I want to make sure that I cover it and lock it into place so that it doesn't make a mess everywhere. And let the food processor do the work for you. And it comes together that quickly. Another great feature is this built-in pouring spout, because what I want to do now is add a little bit of flour at a time to make sure that my dough is not too sticky. And you'll see if it's very shiny, that's not the consistency that you want. So add a little bit more flour, but just a little at a time. So I'm going to turn this back on, and while it's going, I'll be able to see how much flour I need to add. So you want to make sure you're starting with a really well floured surface because pizza dough is quite sticky. And earlier I had said I was going to save some of the olive oil that we used, and now I'll show you why. I like to put just a little bit on my hands so that the dough isn't too sticky, and then you lose a good portion of your dough on your hands. So we'll just take this out and put it onto our work surface. You may want to use a spatula for this, but the dough is pretty good at staying together. Okay, so we've got our dough on our surface. Put a little bit of the extra flour on your hands. We just want to knead this a little bit and form a nice, round, soft ball of dough. And then we're going to leave that covered with a bowl or a towel. You want to cover it because you don't want to let the air hit the surface, because then it'll form a crust on the outside. And you want that dough to stay nice and soft and pliable. So just cover that, let it rest so that you don't have a tough dough later on. Let the gluten do the work. So it's been about 10 minutes. Our dough has had time to rest. Now what we want to do is just knead it a few times. We want to get the gluten working. Gluten is a component in flour, and that'll help make your dough form. And we want to, I've put a little bit of olive oil in a stainless steel bowl. You can use a plastic bowl also. Just swirl that around a bit with your hand, or you can use the dough to swirl it around as well. And then we're going to let the dough rest. We'll cover it. We'll let it rest and rise for 1 hour. We want it to double in size, so it'll fill this bowl for us and it'll be perfect. So we have an hour while our dough is rising, and now we're going to have time to work on our beautiful spinach pesto. We're using all these gorgeous fresh ingredients with beautiful color and really fresh, vibrant flavors. So we're putting in 2 cups of fresh spinach, 1 cup of fresh basil, And make sure that when you do those cups that you're packing it in. You don't want a loose cup because then you won't have enough ingredients. And that was just some parsley. We're putting in a half cup of pinoli nuts, a half cup of freshly grated Parmesan cheese, 2 cloves of garlic, 2/3 cup of olive oil, and you want to use extra virgin olive oil and a good quality olive oil, and you'll get that really rich flavor. And then we want to use a little bit of lemon zest, about a teaspoon. Make sure that when you're zesting your lemon that you go only about that far. You don't want to get to the white because that's where it'll turn bitter. So we just want to zest that a little bit in here. Keep turning and turning your lemon. And we probably have enough there. Give it a little tap, get all those extra bits out. And then of course we want to lock into place again. And now we're going to be using our chop mode. So we're looking really good here. This is exactly what I want it to look like. Let me show you. It's so beautiful and vibrant and such nice bright green. And then next we're going to roll out the dough. I have all the rest of my ingredients ready for assembly. My dough is all ready and it looks gorgeous. See, it's nice and fluffy and airy. I have a little of my flour left over from before for the surface. I'm just going to put a little bit more on here. We don't want our pizza round to stick. And I also, you can just roll your rolling pin right on there or do it with your hands. So let's get this nice and floured. I also saved a little bit of olive oil from the pesto, and I've taken off my rings because sometimes with pizza dough you just want to let your hands be free. So we'll put our dough, see it's pulling away from the bowl so nicely because we lined it with olive oil earlier. And now we're just going to roll it out. Use your fingers a little bit, work the dough a little bit. You can turn it, you can see that it's not sticking to the surface. And we want to get about a 14-inch round, but this does not have to be perfect. It's fun to make, and it definitely doesn't have to be perfect. You can use your rolling pin also if you'd like. You do want to make sure, however, that you get a nice even thickness all the way around because you want your pizza to cook evenly. There's 2 ways that you can do this. You can slide this onto your pizza pan, or you can add a little more flour to your rolling pin. Take your dough, roll it over, and then you can roll it back. And then as you're doing this, just make it, whoops, let's move that over a little bit. Just work the edges, make it round. I've pre-greased this cooking sheet, and we've also added some cornmeal. The cornmeal will help it not stick to the pan. You'll also get a nice little crust on the bottom, and it'll give you some extra crisp. So we'll move this over here closer to us so we can finish our assembly. First we're going to add the pesto, and you want to leave about a 1/2 inch around the edges so that you get that nice thick crust that everybody likes on their pizza. And it's really easy to use a spatula. You can use a rubber spatula like I'm using, or you can even use a cake decorating blade, which is called an offset blade. If you'd like to, before you put on the pesto, you can season your dough with a little bit of salt and a little bit of fresh ground pepper. You don't have to because there's so much flavor in the pesto, but if you'd like it like that, that's fine too. Next, we're going to add about 2 or more cups of freshly grated mozzarella cheese, or you can buy it in the grocery store already shredded for you. And this is absolutely up to you. If you like a lot of cheese, just keep loading it on. If you don't, then you put on just the amount that you and your family will enjoy. So we'll get this on here. Again, you want to try and be even about it. And try not to get too many on your edges. But if you do, it still tastes great because then you get that nice little crispy piece of cheese. So I think that's good. Then we want to layer our tomatoes. These are plum tomatoes, and I've cut them nice and thin. And this is probably about 3 or 4 tomatoes. And then we just want to lay these out so that you have nice even circles of tomatoes and not just thrown on top of the pizza. So we'll lay all these out. And then we're going to give a little sprinkle of grated Parmesan. This will add, like I said earlier, if you don't want to season your pizza with a little kosher salt and pepper, this will add a little bit more of salt for you. And then we've cut our basil. This is called, if you want to be fancy, it's called chiffonade. But you take the basil, you lay each leaf on top of each other, you roll it up a little bit, and then do thin slices. And then you get this nice fluffy shape. And you want to sprinkle that on. And there you go, we're ready to put our pizza in the oven. You want to put that in at about 450. It'll take about anywhere from 12 to 14 minutes. So our pizza's ready and I can't wait to have a bite. Just get it out of the oven. Look at how nicely all the cheese melted. Remember I said leave that edge and we'd get those nice little cheesy, crunchy bits there. And you can see how the cornmeal has crusted the outside. It'll be great. So what I like to do is just top it off with a little bit of freshly ground black pepper. It just gives it another layer of flavor and it's really, really nice and fresh. So we'll just give this a cut, and I hope that you've enjoyed cooking with me today. I had such a great time. I hope you enjoy your pizza, and I hope that we see you back again.